kind of blood sugar crashes going on there.
Hey, Sporadic, I just want to shout you out, bro. New Perspective put a clip of you up on his channel where you gave us the history of masonry. Dude, you were dropping gems, man. I encourage anyone to listen to that. That was awesome.
I realized I got one of the names wrong. I think I said Jean-Jacques Villermoz, and I meant Jean-Baptiste, but minor point.
Same person.
I mean, I didn't fact check you, but man, you were dropping some fire. Like, you were really getting into it. I didn't know you had that knowledge on Freemasonry. I didn't know your background either, so it was nice to know more about you.
Yeah, thanks. Yep, I expose it when I can. I know stuff about it that most people in it don't know until they are trusted and are in for a while. It's
are you a Freemason?
Even then, like, the more you know about it, the less you actually know about all of it. Nobody really knows everything about Masonry that's in it. Like, everybody's just kind of in it for historical, for tradition. I mean, it's really crazy. Nobody really knows how far back it goes or how it was founded. Everybody has come up with different origin stories, from the Phoenicians to the Byzantine builder corps under Emperor Komnenos in Constantinople to Babylon itself, even to Egypt. I mean,
The Temple of Solomon. Right?
yeah, there's no real direct link to much of that, though. Really, what we've got is modern Masonry really came onto the scene as part of the Jacobite Rebellion, when the Stuart kings were ousted from England because they were loyal to the Pope. And they got hooked in with people who were Roman, because they were devout Roman Catholics. They hooked up with people that used to have lineage to the Inquisition, who recovered all kinds of occult texts from the East and from Islam and such. And so they were together doing all this research, and they kind of reconstructed modern Masonry and founded a Scottish Rite and brought that to America. What's interesting is one of the guys who brought a lot of the documents from the Inquisition, he had a patent to set up lodges by one of the Stuart kings that he linked up with. And the Stuart king had the approval of the Pope to go found lodges throughout Europe. And this strain of Freemasonry, called Martinism, is the meeting place, the meeting table between Roman Catholicism and Freemasonry.
So before you go on, so Martinism was after the establishment of Masonry, right?
You could say that. It more or less, well, Martinism brings together three old branches of esotericism in the West. One of them is Rosicrucianism, the actual one. The other is what's called the Knights Beneficent of the Holy City, which is basically the Templars. And the third one is kind of like a Eastern Christian Buddhist mysticism called the Way of the Heart.
Hey, Sporadic.
Yeah.
Do you also think that the Templars were just a bunch of faggots fucking in Israel during the Crusade?
Holy shit.
Jeez, dude.
That's insane.
Is
Use
that too
your words,
graphic? Can I not say that live? Sorry.
You can't use slurs, dude.
What's really interesting is these guys, as they were going around founding lodges and initiating people throughout Europe in the mid-1700s and so forth to the 1800s, they're initiating kings and princes. And their initiates, these kings and princes, would get basically like cover identities, nomen mysticums, mystical names. And a lot of them like to enjoy anonymity and mingle with the public, because most of the public didn't see their faces. There were no cameras back then, and people didn't see paintings, and the likenesses that had been depicted of them were not really accurate. So a lot of these nobility enjoyed going to places like America, basically undercover, or going to Australia undercover, and conduct secret meetings. So, I mean, their legend has it that the King of Prussia actually enjoyed a vacation house here in Pennsylvania today, and we have a town named after him, King of Prussia.
So would you say modern Masonry came about after the Inquisition?
Yeah, it did. After the Inquisition and following and during the Jacobite Rebellion, what was happening is basically the Vatican was trying to unite Europe together and try to retake the UK back and make it Roman again. They were also interested in beating up on the Tsars because the Russians were Orthodox Christians, Eastern Christians. They weren't Roman Catholics. They're basically as big enemies of the Pope as the Protestant reformers were. But the Orthodox have beef with Rome going back to 1000 AD, so it's a much longer beef. So basically the Vatican was just trying to unite as many people together as they could and make Europe Carolinian again. So one of the ends that they went through was the formation of modern masonry in the Scottish Rite, and it was written by masons who had the Martinist masons that founded all this. Martinet de Pasquale and Louis Claude de Saint Martin. They had a secretary who was a Jesuit priest, and he wrote a lot of the ritual work and basically tried to Christianize Masonry. At this time, Masonry was also undergoing transformation. There were basically atheistic humanist Masons, the Bavarian Illuminati, who wanted to make Masonry more deistic, more even atheistic. And there's a big meeting they got together. I mentioned all this in that presentation I did. They had a meeting called the Convent of Wilhelmsbad, and there it was decided that moving forward, Masonry would be fundamentally Christian, even though it's really not.
So hold on. So before that, Masonry was not Christian, but there was still like before that, any religion could be part of Masonry. Is that what you're saying, or did it have a different belief?
Yeah, it still is and still was. And prior to modern Masonry from the 1700s, Masonry did exist in some rudimentary forms. And it is true that it did come out of the actual Masons, call them that, the real stonemasons. The real temple builders, contractors, people that went around free for hire and helped emperors and kings and princesses and princes and queens and so on build their chalets, build their temples, help the Roman Church build theirs, help Islamic cultures build a lot of their mosques, and even went into India and built there. So they all shared the same building techniques and trades, and they learned a lot of the religious esoteric arts from each other, and they saw a lot of commonality, and this led to something called perennialism, the notion that all world religions come from one primordial religion, which is not something that mainstream Christianity teaches is true.
Sorry, what's that called?
Perennialism.
Right, I'll make a note of that. Sorry, whoever I interrupted, go ahead.
It's all good. It's also, there have always been mystery schools and things like that, which were absorbed into some of these other fraternities. And then, like, if you, for instance, just look at the fall of the Ming Empire, the Jesuits came in there. The Ming Empire was a flat earth. It was the last flat earth, like, country, really. And the Jesuits came in there. They used the knowledge of the Greeks to impress the court and the eunuchs, and then were handed the princes of the emperor as charges to be taught. And then other Jesuits outside of the country were with the invasions that invaded the Ming Empire, and the Jesuits who were with the princes pulled the princes in different directions and had them war with each other. So it's a really interesting story if you go look at, like, the fall of the Ming Empire, for instance. These different groups work in different ways throughout history, and all of them have what I call the cloak of kindness, or people within them where they're, for instance, Freemasonry, they're just Masons, or they're just like people of influence within their community. And so you want to grab those people into your little cult, so that if people say, hey, these guys are bad guys, the guys who are innocent will stand up and loudly proclaim, I'm innocent.
That's really interesting. So the Ming Empire was the last empire that followed ancient Chinese cosmology. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, Trace. I ran into that recently too, and yeah, I can verify. They also had for a while two competing, call it models, cosmological conceptions. A flat one and a globe one, which they borrowed from Westerners that kept visiting, and then later the Jesuits, like you mentioned.
So the Jesuits brought the geocentric model to them. Is that right? Or the Copernican model? No, it would be before Copernicus, right?
Geocentric, yeah. They had a hard time delivering heliocentrism, and they initially taught geocentrism to the emperor. Yep. Someone in the chat mentioned Schuler tuning, said that was a great drop too. I guess the New Perspective drop an impromptu presentation I did on Schuler tuning, because my one on Freemasonry was impromptu. I was just speaking off the cuff. I'm kind of surprised that made the cut, but cool. I'm glad it turned out well. And yeah, I also went off the cuff on Schuler tuning not too long ago too.
Oh, New Perspective posted a video on it, did he? I missed that one if he did. Yeah, I'm going to look for that now because I know you. I don't know if you want to give us a very quick update because you bought Schuler tuning to us maybe 2 months ago. Have you learned more?
I haven't done any more digging, but I can tell you what it is. So, Schuler tuning is really what Globers should claim compensates for the rotation vector that airplanes and boats and satellites must experience as they go around the Earth. So, it's like, what does he mean by rotation vector? Well, you know how we talk about drop over distance, right? That, you've got your tangent plane to the ball, and if you followed that tangent plane, the ball would drop below it over distance. Well, there's another movement at play. If you were to try and maintain respect to down as you go over the ball, you have to rotate. So if you imagine like an airplane taking off from the North Pole and landing on the equator at a runway, it basically has to reorient itself 90 degrees of an arc of rotation in order to maintain down. If it didn't do that, it couldn't land, because if it didn't rotate, the plane's undercarriage would be pointing sideways. So what we haven't heard a lot from Globies is the Schuler tuning defense, and I've been kind of surprised at this. And I'd heard about this a long time ago and never really looked into it. But Schuler tuning is a way to maintain down with respect to Earth. And what they do is they use a mathematical formula and a mathematical concept by picturing a pendulum whose string is exactly the length of Earth's radius. And when you pick up this pendulum and you pull it way up so that it's horizontal and let it go, it's going to, under the force of gravity, this conceptual pendulum is going to complete an entire periodic swing back and forth, and it will take 84.4 minutes. So, using this kind of like a clock, they're able to apply it mathematically to inertial navigation systems to tell the boat, the airplane, or satellite that it is performing this rotation as it moves over the surface of the Earth and maintains down everywhere it goes. So Schuler tuning came into play with the Skylab space station from like the 70s. It was just a small little tin can that was orbiting Earth. It had a problem. The heat shield was on the top side so that it would face the sun during the daytime part of the orbit. And Schuler tuning was implemented, they claimed, so that the Skylab capsule would rotate as it completes an orbit, ensuring that heat shield is always facing the sun. And therefore the astronauts wouldn't get cooked inside. Well, in order to do that, they claimed that they put in these gyroscopes, these big fat flywheels that were tuned according to Schuler tuning and allowed this thing to rotate as such in orbit so that it would maintain orientation with respect to the sun and with respect to down. Well, the gyroscopes broke. Okay, the story goes the gyroscopes broke, and so this thing lost its ability to rotate with the orbit, and it put the astronauts' lives into danger, and they had to rescue them and bring down Skylab, and they did in a fiery explosion overhead. Schuler tunings also claimed to be employed in the International Space Station. There's like, I don't know, half a dozen or dozen some odd gyros that they claim that exist, and they're all working in concert with each other to make sure that the ISS is oriented down. We can see this when we pop up NASA TV. And on NASA TV, you see how the Earth is always scrolling underneath, and supposedly Schuler tuning is responsible for ensuring that the ISS is maintaining, basically call it a horizontal pitch with respect to the globe the entire time. So Schuler tuning became popular in aeronautics after the Apollo missions when NASA claimed that it was very instrumental for them to land men on the moon and bring them back safely. And after that, it was introduced into aeronautical systems via circuit boards and electronic devices that would employ the Schuler tuning. And what does that mean it's doing? It's, at the end of the day, a mathematical correction for something that we know doesn't exist. It's a way to take aircraft telemetry readings, the avionics equipment. You've got the gimbal gyro called an attitude indicator. It produces the artificial horizon. It's this thing in a bubble, right? And when the airplane tilts up and down, this thing remains level, and the pilot, let's say he can't see outside because it's cloudy and it's dark, can't see the horizon. He can look down at this device, and it's going to remain flat and level, right, with respect to the actual horizon. And it also tells him if he's rolling to the left and to the right, and so on. He also has a compass. to have this heading with respect to due north. These are flat angle measuring devices and are not compatible with a spherical surface, like the WGS84 reference ellipsoid, from which latitude and longitude are mapped to. The Schuler tuning is a way to mathematically convert Euclidean angle measurements to spherical angles on WGS84 to make them compatible with maps that use latitude and longitude. Isn't that interesting? So there are devices that employ this, and in my research, I did not come up with this. In the Boeing 777 Dreamliner, I think it is, the 777, there's a unit, the Air Data Inertial Reference Unit, ADIRU, and supposedly this has the Schuler tuning subcomponent inside that takes all the attitude and orientation and velocity data from the airplane, again, all those Euclidean geometric measurements over flat Earth, applies the Schuler tuning to it, and bada bing, bada boom, now you got spherical angles and spherical trajectories, you got Haversine, great circle distances, and everything else. And that data can be fed to a globe, to a lat and long map, and then have it be accurate with respect to coordinates on that map. And there's an instance where a pilot wrote in, I think he wrote into Taboo Conspiracy. This pilot said, hey, I'm a 777 pilot. I'm not a flat earther, but I got a great story to tell. So this device with the Schuler tuning component, the ADIRU, I don't think he actually in this knew that it was Schuler tuning. That's something I figured out myself later. But the Air Data Inertial Reference Unit is something that is responsible for making sure that I've got accurate headings for my flight plans. And he said when he was doing his startup checks before disembarking from the terminal, he was notified that this component, the subcomponent, was broken. And so he said, this isn't a big deal. Normally what they're able to do is they hot swap it. They have techs come in, they pull out the box with this component, and they have a fresh one ready to go, and they slap that sucker back in, and off they go, no big deal. Well, it turns out they didn't have one. They didn't have a replacement ready. And he got clearance to go anyway, and basically a pat on the back and said, sir, pilot, even though this device is broken, you're just going to have to rely on your trusty navigation skills like you learned in flight school, and you know what to do. It's like, okay, fine. So he was wondering about all the consequences of this. Like, is his attitude indicator going to get all fucked up? If he's going to be flying a few thousand miles, is the artificial horizon not going to be corrected with respect to where Earth, with respect to his location on Earth? Right? Because this is a gyroscope that maintains fixed rigidity in space, and if Earth is a ball, you start tilting downward, that gyroscope, that artificial horizon will be like scrolling upwards, even though you're still level, right? If Earth is a globe. So he's wondering about that and talking about all these other consequences. Is his heading, his azimuthal heading with respect to north, going to get all fucked up too? Is that not going to hold true? And so he's talking about all these worries and fears, and funny enough, he was able to chart his course and maintain accurate headings and distances and everything else without that box. And he's like, it was as if it did fuck all. And he said this led him down this path of research to figure out who constructed these. And he said that he learned one of the two companies that did, and he called them and tried to get information on what these black boxes actually do, and he couldn't find anybody to talk to. There's no test data for these. You can't find information on the internet or anywhere on like what happens if Schuler tuning breaks. How far off course will your flight plan be? You can't find any of this. It's all proprietary. He didn't give away the two companies, but I found two of them. One of them was Rockwell Collins, and the other one was Boeing. They make these air data inertial reference units with the Schuler tuning in them. And you can pull up Google patents and look at them, and they claim to do all this, and they work and stuff. But, I mean, we got this great testimony from a pilot who had that whole entire unit yanked out of his airplane, and he was able to fly as per normal, like nothing was amiss. I found that to be interesting. I wonder if he had been using like some kind of globe coordinate system map, if that was a bit fucked up, but he said he was able to get to where he was going just fine. Anyway. Schuler tuning, folks.
Can we speak to...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, can we speak to Big Bear, see if the Flat Earth Sniper got his pilot's license? I feel a new episode coming on.
Big Bear, huh? Who's that?
I forgot his name. What's his name? The guy who did Flat Earth Sniper.
Oh, you mean Owen Benjamin? Yeah.
Owen Benjamin. Yeah, this sounds like an episode of Flat Earth Pilot.
Oh, that'd be great.
I mean, it's exactly the same premise, right? Like the argument is you'll need a Schuler tuning or whatever to fly over to cater for the curve, but it works without, So you could have an argument between the pilot and the co-pilot. That same situation where the black box is removed could happen, and they could have a little back and forth before they take off.
That's funny too. Yeah, like Schuler tuning is not the same as Coriolis. That's just a geometric curvature correction. Coriolis is a whole nother correction that supposedly goes into the mix that nobody actually accounts for. Yeah, that'd be funny. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand with each other. So, yep, Schuler tuning for curvature, Coriolis for rotating reference frames.
like today, Heathrow to JFK, headed west-southwest, cause there ain't no better way. Gonna find that old Coriolis, they say she's hidden in the winds, but that just can't be if we rotate east, tangential gradient. Hidden in the winds, Coriolis must be hidden in the winds, but the earth ain't moving faster with the further south we've been, and we never could land safely with that tangential gradient. And we all know every pilot treats the earth as motionless, so to think it must be moving is just insane, you must confess. But please don't get offended if this song makes too much sense. Just thank God that landing's easy with no tangential gradient in the winds. They said she'd just be hidden in the winds, but the earth ain't moving faster with the further south we've been, and we never could land safely with that tangential gradient. So here's a lesson for who's listening. It's dynamics that are true. No kinematic concept could ever substitute. So the next time you are flying, no matter where you go, don't worry about rotation, cause we ain't on no damn globe.
Could I take this opportunity to ask a much simpler question?
Yeah, feel free to go ahead. We're just geeking out. No worries.
I got a little bit lost. I jumped on just because I was a little bit curious. I ran into someone and they were talking to me about flat Earth, and I'm not very good at geography. I'm not very I'm not the person you take along to a quiz night, but I was taught globe theory through school and whatnot, and I just found myself pondering the question, since you were talking about flights, what is the actual map of flat Earth, and how do flight times and things? So, for instance, my understanding of the Earth, as I said, I was taught in school, is that it's a globe. So.
You're in good
I don't know.
We all were too. I was a globe earther until 4 years ago. So, yeah, listen, so for us, hearing that's kind of like a loaded question. And this has to do with understanding what maps are in the first place.
Well, I was curious, because this is literally my first foray into this. Is the flat surface, is it a circle, or is it like if you had taken a globe and you cut it down and then just unfolded it, so it's more of almost like a rectangular surface? Or I genuinely don't know. What does that flat Earth actually look like in terms of where are continents actually situated on it? And then how, because obviously with a globe, for instance, depending on where you would cut it in half, or cut it open and fold it out, obviously 2 points on a globe would be very close together, but if you were to open them out, then they would be very far apart. So that's what I haven't quite got my head round.
Yeah. Well, I think to faithfully answer this question, we have to go into cartography and map making and astronomy.
Really? Because I'm really looking for a simple thing. So my understanding, for instance, the northernmost point of a globe, as I was taught in school, would be the Arctic Circle, the North Pole. The southernmost point would be Antarctica, and then depending on wherever you're situated, around the middle of the globe, your east and west will. East is one direction, west is another direction. I'm not going to say whether one country is east or west, because in that model it's round, so who cares a little bit. But so on a really simple scale, what would be due north and what would be due south? And if it is flat, is there actually a due east and a due west?
Yeah, these
on the
big
map.
questions, right? So,
Are they?
our world is doesn't really have a center. Like, there's no. Some people come
Like
in
it's a
here, right?
donut?
No, like people come in and think that maybe flat Earth is like the pizza world map, and that's not true.
So, like, if you were to describe it with geometry, like what shape is it? Is it in a regular shape, or is it like an elliptical shape, or?
Overall, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's lumpy, but it doesn't curve. It's just not a globe inside outer space. It's not, as far as I can tell, just me speaking here, I don't think Earth itself is an object that exists within a greater realm outside of it. At least nothing that
Whoa,
we can comprehend or experience.
It's like asking what's the shape of a mountain or a tree.
Mhm.
Basically, we are
I
not a
mean, but
replacement.
I can draw a tree. I can give you a few different descriptions of how
Right.
different types of trees are. Conifers are generally conical. Eucalyptuses are more sprawling, and they tend to have like 3 branches that come off of a larger branch.
We can draw the Earth as well as you see it, because that's how you experience it, and everybody experiences it. You don't experience the Earth as a ball as you have in your mind. We are not here to give you a replacement belief system. We just falsified the religion that we came from. So we used to believe in the globe just like you, but when we check the claims and the assumptions in the belief, they don't hold water. They don't, like, the Earth isn't measured curved, and that's a fundamental problem.
So is it a little bit similar to the you often hear? Sorry, I'm going way back now. You often hear people who of like a religious background, for instance, will challenge atheists by saying, well, how can something come from nothing? Like, what happened before the Big Bang? And then generally speaking, the person who's the atheist or the more science-driven person will often say, well, whilst we don't know what came before, we do know, like, we do believe that the idea of creationism is silly, but we don't need to know that what came before, but we know that your version of truth, which is creationism, is silly. Is it like that kind of argument? It's like the globe is silly, but we don't really know what the flat is?
No, it's, you can go out right now and you can measure the waters of the Earth and look for this curvature that they claim exists there.
I'm not even talking about
there.
curvature.
And so,
I just want to know where the
we're talking about curvature. That's what we're talking about.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said I could ask a question about, like, and my question was, like, where are the countries on the map?
Yeah, we're not giving you a map. So you're asking a question of something that we're not claiming. We're not claiming a map of the world. We have empirical measurements and logical arguments that destroy the current belief system that we used to belong to.
So,
Yeah, listen,
no, I understand. I'm not challenging a claim. I was asking a genuine question about. Yeah. And so is your answer is you don't know where the countries are, but you know that they're not on a curved globe, or is it that you're just? I don't understand.
We know roughly the relative positions of most of the land masses. We know the lands themselves are easily measured, and we can see the maps themselves are using Euclidean geometry, and they're flat on the base level. But when you zoom out in your mind and you imagine it's a ball, that's never been verified.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, I've grown up looking at globes, so that's very easy for me to imagine, and so then
we can all imagine that, yes.
I can imagine it. I've seen it. That's where I was kind of hoping to understand what the alternative view would be if it were flat.
I told you already, we're not a replacement belief system. We're not a replacement cosmology. We just have evidence that the cosmology that we were all sold as children is not true. What's so hard to understand about that?
Here, let me help her out, because she framed it in atheism and science. That's where you'll find flat Earth. Use that definition. I lack belief in models or models presented by state sponsors of religion, namely the Catholic Church and NASA. So use that definition. How do you understand what a flat earther is saying? A flat earther does not believe in model or models.
Okay, so I wanted to say something, the phone, which is north. Okay, so I think what she's asking, if I'm hearing her properly, is that she wants to know the where is north? Well, okay, say you're in Africa, I would say Antarctica's north, or not Antarctica, the other one, Greenland, or the center.
Arctic.
But what is north to you, because you're somewhere else? And we're not spinning, by the way, according to experiments that are done with a telescope and water. The sky is spinning. Anyway, I just wanted to just pop in and say that. Did you understand? Did that help your question of where is north?
Oh yeah, I think that was a little clearer to me. Thank you for taking the time. So it's it's relative to where you are as to what would be due north, south, east, or west of you.
So how is north defined, right? I mean, this is something we can get into and I can talk about. Like, what is north? There are multiple norths.
Oh yeah, okay. So this is that's breaking my brain a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
The most conventionally used north in an absolute manner is what is called the geographic position of the North Celestial Pole. So our entire coordinate system we have longitude lines that run north and south and latitude lines that run east and west. People today think of those as being on the ground, but they really came from the stars. That's how they originated. You can find old books where sailors are talking about sailing underneath 43-degree north latitude, sailing underneath the equator.
Antarctica would be the outer rim. Anywhere you are,
ma'am, it is not an outer rim.
Anywhere you are on the planet,
excuse me, stop talking.
Rim, and it'd be south.
Stop. South is not an outer rim.
Yeah, that's what I told you. That's a model that I told you. Flat earthers do not believe in models. That's called a reification fallacy. To assign a model to reality.
Yeah, could I ask another possibly overly simplistic, because I know you guys are talking about quite complicated figures and measurements and things, but just in terms of because I'm just trying to understand the concept in relation to sort of my daily experiences, I suppose. That would be the simplest way to say. Like, so for instance, we're taught about seasons in school, and how we're taught that because the globe is on a tilt and it rotates, that's what accounts for things in southern and northern hemispheres, apparently, which why we have different weather patterns at different times. What is it? Is there a theory in the flat earth community as to how that's accounted for in different places, as well as the day night? Like when I phone my brother who lives in the UK, he describes to me that it's night outside and I'm in Australia and it's daytime for me. Like how do I conceptualize that with a flat earth rather than a globe? Because I've only ever been taught
Sun's closer
the
to
globe.
you when you can see it.
That's
So
very easy.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I wasn't like, I'm genuinely asking. I'm not looking for a dressing down. But I'm sorry if it was a simplistic question. If it's boring, that's fine. I just thought this would be a good place to get some answers.
You're fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, what you do with
did you hear what?
seasons- Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, Chris. No, sorry. I was just saying. Did you hear what Jedi said? Because that's your answer.
No. No, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
John, just say it again, Jedi.
Maybe you can say it, Roots.
I guess not. Yeah, all he said was that because the sun's closer to you. So as the sun moves away from you, it takes its light with it.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
Basically what he said.
not a 93 million mile away sun like in the globe.
Yeah, it's about the sun's angle to you as well. Like, if the sun is directly above your head, it's gonna be warmer. If the sun is not directly above your head.
so the sun moves across, or the Earth moves across in relation to the sun?
The sun moves across the sky throughout the day and throughout the year, changing its position.
Correct.
So, for example, you in Australia, you can experience winter. That's because the sun is low on the horizon. You don't get to see it for long. Me in the UK, at that same time, I'll experience summer. The sun is high in the sky, and I experience the sun for a long time. That's because of the sun.
So even when the sun's like when I look at it and it's up in the sky, it's not near the horizon. Yeah,
Well, if it's not near the horizon, then yeah.
Well, I mean, in midday, it's not near the horizon. It's right in the middle of the sky, right?
Think about an airplane, right? If an airplane's going over your head, right, it's right up in the sky, and as it moves away from you, it appears to drop lower in the sky and sort of converge with the horizon. It's just due to perspective, right? Or if you're looking down a long street and you've got street lights going down the street and you can see them, it looks like they're going down, 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 and they kind of converge with the horizon due to perspective.
Yeah, but if the sun is above me, but it's still winter, like is it just like above me but way further away, which makes it closer to someone else? So
right.
How is it?
So during the summer,
Bro, are you trying to say that when the sun is above your head at the zenith, that it's winter somewhere?
Oh, well, I mean, it's a little bit, in the way I would describe it, is it's a little bit to the north and like directly above my head here. So
then it's not winter.
For instance,
like if it's near the zenith above your head, it's not winter. Like you don't know what you're talking about if you're trying to describe it like that you're in winter when the sun is right above you. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, it does at midday. I don't.
No, it's much
No, it doesn't happen in winter because the sun is not directly above you. Like in no model does this happen. So I don't know what you're arguing for.
Sorry, excuse. I did allow for the fact that I said it's not directly above my. Like I can't draw a straight line from the crown of my head upwards.
That's what we're talking about.
Like, it's above me,
in
as
the
in
summer,
like it's in front.
In the summer,
and upwards.
The sun is higher in the sky. In the winter, the sun is lower in the sky. Doesn't matter where you are. If you experience... all right, I'll just go make myself coffee.
I understand. I got it then, yeah. So, pardon me. I was picturing sort of east-west trajectory as it rises, but I hadn't considered that it's actually the other perpendicular plane that I should have been thinking about. So, I get it now. Thank you.
Now look at the graphic.
Is that in the text? Sorry, I don't use Discord very often.
Yeah. So visually, we see the sun appear to rise and set as it travels across the sky. Like, the sun is always in the sky. It appears to set. Just like when you're looking down a long set of hallways, the floor appears to rise up in your vision, the ceiling appears to fall down in your vision or sink towards a point or vanishing point. The walls come into the sides. If you take those walls away, that vanishing point stretches out into a line or a horizon line. That's basically what you're looking at. It's the horizon is purely optical.
Right. And so as the sun rises in what we know as the east and sets in the west, how does it come back around to the east again to do it again?
Sorry. How does it come back around? I don't know how, but it circles and does. We can observe it for 24 hours above the horizon in the summer in the north and the south. For example, in the Arctic Circle, you can see the sun above the horizon for 24 hours for just up to 3 months of the year circling. So we can observe the sun circle above the Earth. So this is what the sun does. It circles above the Earth, it leaves your position, it's nighttime, it circles around and then comes back again and then illuminates your position as it appears to rise from the horizon. We can observe the sun above the Earth all of the time.
I'd love to see this in one of those old school models where you just see it move, the little, almost like mechanical devices where you can see it move around, just so I could really get my head around it. But thank you.
That's called the orrery.
Sorry, say again?
That exists. It's called an orrery. It exists already.
I'd love to see it from the low Earth orbit.
An orrery. I will look that up. Well, thank you for your time, good folks. I appreciate you being patient with me.
One last gift. I live in Iceland, so like I see the sun do this. So it's rising, and falling, but as I turn, it's just going in a circle. Like it's coming closer to me, but it's then going further away from me.
Yeah, I would love to actually see that one. I've heard that the solar displays are actually quite spectacular that far up. Obviously, my experience of the sun in Australia is quite different in terms of day lengths, daytime hours, and things like that. But thank you, I appreciate your time.
Cool. Look, there's so many different questions you probably have. Like, you're welcome to keep asking questions or come back another time and continue. Appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks. Cheers.
Yeah, no problem. Look, the main thing is, like, we're not claiming to replace everything that the globe side claims, right? When we're talking about flat Earth, we're not even claiming to know the entirety of the shape of the Earth. We're just talking about the surface of the Earth not having any drop over distance that would be required for the Earth to be a globe, primarily over large bodies of water. So it's like a surface description, right? So flat meaning that there's no curvature that can be found over the surface, rather than a flat planet or anything like that. We're not claiming like a flat disk floating in space, in the globe Earth version of space, or anything like that. So we have lots of long distance observations that are literally impossible on a globe. There's such a huge amount of them now, and they've been done over and over in all different places, over huge distances, laser tests, and the list goes on.
Yeah, righto. Oh, well, I'll go and absorb what I've heard tonight and see how my brain goes.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thanks for stopping past. Well, once again, come back anytime.
No,
There's always people around.
Oh, many thank yous. Cheers.
I was going to say that if you keep coming back, you're going to get to the point where you're going to realize, wow, there's no evidence for the globe left. But it takes quite a while to realize that.
Yeah, well, that's it. I'll do a little deep dive and see where I end up. Thanks so much.
Cheers. Great to have you.
All right. Happy day, evening, wherever you are. Ta-ta.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
We get those questions all the time, right? Show me your flat Earth map. If Earth is flat, they think intuitively, right, that it means the globe can't accurately represent land masses and their orientation and distances and relationships. So what is it? I think it's a natural question to ask, but most people asking it don't understand really the implications of what it is they're asking itself. And what they're referring to really is a coordinate reference system.
Yeah, they don't know the history of those maps and how much those maps have changed over the years. They don't know that there's still errors with those maps, and if you try to navigate using the globe, it's not going to help. You need to use actual maps.
Yeah, there's still issues today with defining what latitude and longitude really are.
Yeah. I mean, we still see inconsistencies in shipping lanes, like especially in the south, like how long it takes for them to bring the stuff there. It's weird. And if you look at the all the Antarctic races where they claim to have sailed around Antarctica, well, it took them over 100 days, and they were going. I've seen the videos from the race. Like they were going at full speed with like insane winds at their backs. They were like jumping, getting like air for like a couple of seconds, like a whole boat's in the air. They're going so fast. And if you calculate their speeds based on the distance on the globe, they're literally going just a little bit above walking speed.
Yeah, like 5 miles per hour or something.
Yeah, 6 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Do you find that people are easily red-pilled now?
No, it's getting worse. They're easily black-pilled or blue-pilled. They would there's people, they realize how fucked up the world is. They see it every day, exponentially worse. Exponentially growing, where peace talks were supposedly, like, Trump was going to end the war in Ukraine. It ended with some sort of Twitter war between Putin and Trump. They're shit-talking each other on social media. And these are supposedly the most advanced space-age cultures.
Well, there were drone attacks against Putin. If you didn't know, he was droned like 14 times. They tried to kill Putin.
Okay, let's try to stay one topic. Your first question: are people getting red-pilled or blue-pilled? Which is easier? No, it's quite the opposite. People are just checking out. They're done. At this point, no one really cares anymore. They're just waiting for the downfall. They're just waiting for the house of cards to collapse.
Yeah, they're not paying any attention. Just letting it. Dominion, giving up dominion. Like, what are they doing in our skies? Are we allowed to say no? Aren't those our skies too?
See, there it is. You just demonstrated my point, the black pill.
They're climbing into the heavens. They're going into the firmament.
What?
They tried the, thing with the nuclear warheads. I heard Trump was getting ready to sign an executive order to up the electricity to make more things. Now, they've done the fishbowl thing before. The Bible says they'll go climbing into the heavens, and they need to get past that barrier that they couldn't break with Operation or whatever fishbowl. They just signed an executive order to up the electricity to make more bombs. What are they going to do with them? Oh, we know what they did with them before. I'm just saying, are they going to do it again?